Vav. Okay, is that it? Okay. So we started the fifth and final parak, and the first sugi was just about the word Meshilin, and the halacha was that you're allowed to lower perus on Yantif on the skylight. If you have produce on the roof, chita and sorin, and you want it to dry out, then it's the rain is coming, so you want to save it. So you're allowed to throw down or lower down the skylight from the roof on Yantif, not on Shabbos.
Did we get to the bottom of the page?
Yes. So just to review, the Gemara is going to continue with the same subject. That's why I'm just going back a second. There's a mission in Shabbos that says Mefanan. That's a parak called Mefanan. Mefanan Abba V'chamish Kupa Shal Teben V'Shal Tfua V'Bnei Orchim V'Bnei B'Tol Beis HaMedrash. It says on Shabbos you're allowed to make place for guests or for the Beis Medrash. You need a place in order to allow a place for people to learn. So it says that you're allowed to clear out 4 or 5 boxes worth of straw or tua, nothing's muksa over there, just the tircha of taking out the teben and kupa. So it says 4 or 5 boxes. Over there, the reason is because of Orchim, B'Tol Beis HaMedrash. And the Gemara wants to make a comparison of our mission, which says about lowering Paris down the skylight on Yantif, and to that halacha that it says you're allowed to clear 4 or 5 boxes out on Shabbos. And the question is over there, the shir was 4 or 5 and not more. What's going to be the halacha over here? So the Gemara is going to have a few questions, altogether 4 questions about comparing these two halachas. Our Mishnah about Meshil and Peres, and that halacha over there by Mefan and Peres on Kupa Shalteven on Shabbos. And the Gemara is going to have studying the Kula and the Chumrah. It means even if something is mutter over here or us mutter over there, doesn't necessarily apply to the other sugya. And just to make a preview of what the Gemara is going to say, that on one hand you might say that Yantif is more lenient than Shabbos. On the other hand, you might say on the opposite, that maybe Shabbos is more lenient because Yantif, since it's lenient, so we have people on Mezalzel, and you have to be machmir on Yantif more than on Shabbos. On the other hand, you might say B'Tol Beis HaMedrash is a reason to be mekel, and that you don't have an our Mishnah because nobody's learning and nobody's guests over here. It's just a question about Hefsed Mammon. On the other hand, you might say Hefsed Mammon is more important. Maybe Hefsed Mammon is a reason to be mekel. So the Gemara is going to bring it 4 issues, and each time say maybe it's not comparable to the other sugya because of these different svaras, the kula or the chumrah. So in general, that's what the Gemara is going to say. The first one we learned already yesterday, and the Gemara said even though over there it says 4 or 5, maybe over here you have to be machmir more because maybe over there it's only mutter because B'Tol Beis HaMedrash, or maybe over there because it's Shabbos, but Yantif you have to be machmir more. On the other hand, maybe Hefsed Mammon is a reason to be mekel more, so maybe it's going to be even more than 4 or 5, maybe less than 4 or 5, maybe more than 4 or 5. The Gemara says first lakan and lakan that you can't necessarily learn one from the other. Now we go to the next page, which I'm not organized there yet. I'm sorry. What are we doing now? 68, 69. Okay. Yeah, I'm just on my numbers. I have to look at the screen a little differently. Okay. Okay. So now we're up to the top of the page. That's what we're up to. Hasam Tanan. This is question number 2. Over there by that sugya about boxes of teben that you're clearing out, it says avalo also. That's what the Mishnah says over there. You're allowed to take 4 or 5 boxes out. Avalo also. What does that mean? Not the warehouse. What does that mean? He says over there that you're allowed to take 4 or 5 boxes of teben, but if that's all you have, now, by taking out these 4 or 5, you clear out the whole warehouse. There's a chash, you'll look at the floor and say that there's some bumps over there, and you level it out. So you're allowed to take 4 or 5 boxes as long as you don't clear out the whole ulcer. If that's the whole ulcer, then you're not allowed to
clear the floor.
Right. So the question is, does that chumrah apply to here also? When it says over here that you're allowed to take down the mashil and peros from the gag, the aruba, maybe if you're clearing out the whole roof, all of your sacks of tua, maybe they also have shvir gumas on the roof. So does that chumrah over there apply to us? What's going to be by us? Maybe over there we're machmir on Shabbos because Shabbos is more chomer than Yantif. Here, but Yantif to be mekel. Or the different direction is that maybe over there that's more reason to be mekel because it's on account of learning or orchim, and even over there that there's such consideration still you machmir not to clear out the whole lotzar. So over here kolshkin you have to be machmir because you don't have those considerations. There's an obvious question in all these sugyas that each time the Gemara picks a reason to be machmir this way, a reason to be mekel that way. The truth is that each time you can say 2 directions in each way. The Rashba asked the kasha and he asked, and I didn't see the answer, but the Rashba asked the kasha, why does the Gemara just pick these particular considerations? Each time you can say 2 considerations each way. You could either say Shabbos is more chomer or Yantif is more chomer, and you can say Hefsed Mammon, and you can say Bittul Beis Medrash. So
What kind
the
of
Gemara
stuff?
doesn't always say all the stores. It just picks out one here and there. So that's questionable. So that also the Gemara says you can't compare from the Mishnah over there to Mishnah Bayas. Maybe it's small cooler. Maybe it's, you're right. Maybe it is a Kal V'chomer. The third question. That it says that you're allowed to lower the Paris through the skylight. So there's a Mora of Nachman that he says only if it's on the same roof. If you have a skylight on the same roof, you can take the Paris down the skylight of that roof. But if you have to take it to the next roof in order to get down his skylight, then you're not allowed to. They limited this heter only to the same skylight. So also besides being an Amora, it's also a Brisa. The Tanya, first part of the line, the Tanya Nami the Brisa says the same thing. Even if the roof's on the same level, it's not higher or lower, you can't take it to the next roof, only if you have the skylight in the same roof. So now the one wants to know, does this chumrah apply also to the case of Shabbos? Over there it says you're allowed to take out the otzar, you're allowed to even find in boxes of kupa of tevin from the otzar to take it outside. If you have to go through another otzar, are you allowed to? I guess the case will be if you have two adjacent warehouses, are you allowed to take it from one warehouse to the next house in order to get it out? Maybe it's only what they're on the same one. Who the Asim Mishum Yom Tov to kill, Vasil is a Zulebe, Abel Shabbos the Chamir, Vasil is a Zulebe, Shapir Dami. Maybe only in our Mishnah, but Machmer, because since Yom Tov is lenient, you have to be Machmer, more people shouldn't be Mazalzel, but maybe by Shabbos you don't have to be so Machmer, and you're allowed to take it even to the next Otza. Or Duma, Ma'ach, you can have Separis, I'm at low, Asim Black of have Separis, no Kolchkin. Maybe on the contrary, that over here, even though there's Separis, that you're gonna, it might get ruined in the rain, still you're not allowed to do it. It's a Kalchom over there, there's no consideration of Hefsid, surely it should be Yasser. And question number 4, Tanya, here in our Mishnah, it only says that it's mutter to lower down the skylight. But the Brisa says that's only if it's a skylight that you don't have to pick it up. You just put it down into the skylight. But if it's going to be a chalon, Rashi explains that there's a wall that you have to pick it up over the wall in order to get it over the window, into the window. So then you're not allowed to because it's a tircha. It's only mutter if you have to, if you could just lower it down. But if you have to also pick it up and then lower it down, then it's aser. And also, you read them there, you can't take it down steps. Rashi says a ladder, steps. Steps also is called the sulam. So you can't take it down the steps. Only if you lower it down from the skylight.
When you leave what do you call it, a highlight, can you leave it on the screen so I can find the place I get?
Okay.
It's possible.
It doesn't say so long. Only till I go to the till I go to the next one.
I see.
It doesn't have that feature over here. So here the Mishnah says that lo yishal shleim b'chevel b'chalonos, right? That it says that you're not supposed to. By the case of our Mishnah, it says don't lower it down through the window by rope, and also don't take it down steps. Le'vidim derech sulamos. And the question is, does this chumrah that it says by Yantif, by our case of Shilin, does it also apply to the Mishnah of Shabbos? That also, even though we like take it out of the Otzar, but only if you don't have to pick it up over a wall or something, get it out the window, you can take it straight out, or you don't have to go up and down steps. But maybe the same thing it says over here, you're not allowed to. The chumrah applies over there also. What's going to be over there by case of Lefanin? What's the tzad? Either the kula or the chumrah. Maybe we're going to be more lenient over there because by Shabbos that there's a consideration over there about making room for the Talmidim to learn. So maybe we'll be making more. That even you're allowed to do a little tircha of throwing it over the through the window or going down by steps. On the contrary, that if you machmir over here, you surely machmir over there because there you go have a financial loss and still a machmir over there. That's the end of the Gemara. It had 4 questions, and all of them the Gemara says teku. Teku is on all 4 questions. That we don't know if you could make these comparisons. So again, it said 2 halachas by us, 2 halachas over there. Over there by Mefan, and it said that the limit is 4 or 5 boxes, and also it said that you're not allowed to clean out the whole otzar. And the question is if those halachas apply to us also. Maybe by us it's going to be more lenient. Maybe it is more machmir. Either way, then the Gemara also has 2 halachas that it says by us, and the question is if it applies over there. That over there by us it says that there's 2 limitations. Just a little bit. There are 2 limitations over there. That over there it says that you can't do migag lagad only on the same roof, and also it says you can't go over a wall to a window or something, and also not down the steps. Too much work. And maybe does that apply to Shabbos also? And that also all this the Gemara says that as we said they have 2 svaros lakan, 2 svaros lakan. Either Shabbos is more chomor, or Yantif is more chomor. Either one you could say. And the other way you talk about that Hefsek Mammon is a reason to be Mekel. On the other hand, maybe Bittul Beis Medrash is a reason to be Mekel, and each one doesn't have the other one. So all this the Gemara says we don't know.
So we still hold by Yochanan's
No, Yochanan said that it's comparable, and the Gemara challenged him, and the Gemara left by the challenge.
So it remains.
No, so Yochanan doesn't remain. We don't know if you could make this comparison. The Yochanan said the comparison, and the Gemara challenges and says maybe it's not comparable, maybe it's more humble, maybe it's more kal, and the Gemara leaves all these questions taken.
Where does the fourth one begin, please? I just want to be
Here it is, Lo Yishal Shalem. That was the fourth one.
further up. How many lines from the board lines? I can't see where it begins. Sorry.
Just since the Mishnah doesn't say if you have to be machmer, like all the things you have to be machmer in the other place, why didn't the Mishnah say it?
It didn't say it here also. The Chumash, the two of the Chumash, it didn't say here either. The Chumash that is said over here, it didn't say. The two things about the Lagag Lagag, it doesn't say it's a brisa. It's a brisa over here that it says by Lagag Lagag and up and taking down the steps. These things are brises. It doesn't say Amish either. And the other case that it says that
machmer over here.
Yes. No. And here by Mashilin it says that's what it says. By us by the Mashilin Lagag, that's the brisa says you're not allowed to. So that's for sure. It's a brisa. The question is if this halach of the brisa here applies also to the thing over there by Mafana. Ma'ula, by the two dots. Oh, Machasan as a parish. This is the second halach of the Mishnah. I just maybe have to make a correction that I so maybe it's a question in the Meforshim, but when you read the Mishnah, back to the Mishnah, the beginning of the Masechta, it's the beginning of the parak. It says that the first halach is only on Yontif, not on Shabbos. This thing that you're allowed to lower the paris to the sky is only Yontif, not on Shabbos. And then it says the second halacha that you're allowed to cover the paris because of the leak. This is inside the house. Before you're on the roof. Now you're inside the house and there's a leak and it's going on the paris, so you're allowed to cover it up. And also you can cover up the barrels of wine and oil that are getting leaked on, you can cover it up. And then it says, no for Shabbos, you're allowed to have a container in order to catch the leak. Here's even mutter on Shabbos. So yesterday, I think that yesterday I said that the middle halacha about covering up the kelim is also only mutter on Yontif. I put it together with the first halacha. I said
both of them are only Yontif.
But I'm changing it now. It's wrong. That the middle case is also mutter on Shabbos also. The Mishnah Berurah says, the Shulchan Aruch says that this case of covering the paris inside the house from the dela is also mutter on Yontif. Means that put a slash after Avalo Shabbos. Means the first halacha is Mishil and paris. That's only on Yontif and not on Shabbos. But afterwards, even on Shabbos, you'd be able to cover the kelim that are getting ruined from the leak. And also, you're allowed to put a kli in order to catch the leak. So that goes together. Mishnah Berurah says, so there's a machlokes, he brings down some that are machmer, but that's how we pass it. It seems that this halacha, that you're allowed to cover something because of a leak, is even on Shabbos also. Okay, just wanted to make that correction. And back to our page. So, Umachasan as a paris.
That's Shulchan Aruch.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's a kashayla in Achronim.
Then the Yam Shlomo argues, and the Mishnah Berurah says, okay, that's already a tumult, but that seems to be the halacha. Umachasan as a paris. So this is a halacha that if you have something inside the house that's getting ruined by a leak, you're allowed to cover it up. The whole sukkah is going to be a sukkah which we had already mentioned a bit in Masechah Shabbos, goes back a long time ago. Are you allowed to move something for muktzah? You're not allowed to move muktzah. Are you allowed to move something which is not muktzah for muktzah? That's called klinitil or tzarechtav ranitil. And the halach is you're allowed to. But this is a sugya machlokes. The more is going to be a machlokes. It's not going to bring a decision over here. We pass that it is mutter, but this is going to be the sugya. Are you allowed to move something in order to protect muktzah? So that's the sugya. It says here that you're allowed to cover paris. Paris is not muktzah. You're allowed to cover paris because it's getting room from the dela. Even things that are muktzah. Avir delivery means bricks, and even though they're the omet for binyan, the omet to be used for building materials, so it's muktzah. In other words, you're allowed to even cover muktzah. They will get ruined. They're not ruined mamish, but they're going to. Rashi says that you have to have that they should be dry, and when you build it in, it else takes a long time until it dries. So it is called hefsed wood at least. But even though not hefsed at all, you're allowed to halacha l'maaseh. You're allowed to move non-muktzah for the purpose of muktzah, as long as you don't move the muktzah. So you're allowed to, that's the sunnah. But Ula says you're allowed to. Okay, I think later on Rashi says that it's not mamish hefsed. It's not going to. You're right. This Rashi sounds like it's going to melt later on. Or maybe Rashi's later on by Avana. Maybe Avana is right. Here, these things might be made out of feathers. Maybe it is going to melt. But I think Allah
the bricks were different. Today they wouldn't get ruined. Then they got ruined.
Okay, could be. But later on, I think Allah you're allowed to move it even. It's not going to be upset at all. It's not because not a heter because
you're not moving the bricks. You're covering the bricks.
Yes, I'm talking about that. I'm saying that. Are you allowed to move a non-muktzah item for muktzah and there's no hefsed? So I think Allah I say yes. Okay. Ama'ula. I feel it would be the living, even allowed to cover bricks that are muktzah. If Yitzchak Amar, Paris are buyin. It says no, you're only allowed to cover things that are not muktzah. Only Paris that are not muktzah. But things that are muktzah, you're not allowed to move non-muktzah to protect muktzah. Was the Yitzchak Tamei? Rabbi Yitzchak, we see he holds like that. He's consistent with his pshat. This is the words ein kli nitel ella ledavar nitel b'Shabbos. That you're only allowed to move something for something which is permissible to move. You can't move something which is permissible for something which is not permissible. That's a Yitzchak Shita, and the whole Gemara is going to go through this issue. Tanan. So the first thing is go to our Mishnah. It says you're allowed to cover up food. Tanan. Why does the Mishnah say example of food? Why doesn't it say that you're allowed to cover muktzah? It's attacking ula. If it's permissible, so the Mishnah said a bigger condition. How come it only says you're allowed to cover up food? Comparison, Avir to live low. It sounds like only if it's not muktzah, but if it is muktzah, you're not allowed to cover up things that are muktzah. So the Gemara answers, Ula answers, who then that feel of your delivery? Why did the Tanabration Mishil and Peri was Tana say for Nami and Mechasan as a parent? You're right. It could have said a big chiddush. It could have said even cover up muktzah. But since the first part of the Mishnah, Mishil and Peri was over there, surely he's talking about non-muktzah because over there you're picking it up and you're throwing it down the skylights. Over there, the first Mishnah surely has the first words of the Mishnah surely talks about non-muktzah because you're picking it up. So therefore, we continue with the same subject of Peros, but Enech Nami, you'd even allowed to cover muktzah also. So Ula got out of the first problem. Is that good, Chaim Dam? No good? We're talking about a lot of you move non-muktzah for the purpose of muktzah. So the Mishnah here is highlighted. The non-muktzah as a peros, as a peros. Okay, you're allowed to cover peros. Why does it say case of peros? It's just a big chiddush. Even allowed to cover muktzah. So that sounds like Yitzchak is right. But Ula answers, it just tells a case of peros because that's what we're talking about. That was continuing the same case as the Resha. But Echanam, because it had a big chiddush that he even allowed to cover muktzah. So he got out of that one. Now goes the next question. It says in the second case about covering up, it says besides Peros, you also could cover up barrels, jugs of wine and oil. Over there, why does it say big chiddush? Say big chiddush, cover up muktzah also. And here it's not ID. The first part of the mission didn't mention anything like that. So why does it say a small chiddush of covering up food? Why barrels? Why doesn't it talk about covering up muktzah? So Ula's going to, again, Ula, we're attacking Ula. You're right that this is muktzah. It's a good kasha, and the answer is that this wine and oil is muktzah. Wine and oil are muktzah? Yes, because it's tevel, that it was not yet tied. And that's why food also could be tevel sometimes, if it's not usable, because it wasn't musar. So, Enechanami, who's this? Ula is going to have to say that the Mishnah that says you can cover up Kadya and Kadashem is muktzah. And he's even going to, it sounds pretty bad, like in the Pizza, like really dochak, wine and oil. He says, no, prove it to you. The if it means permissible wine and oil, what did the Mishnah add on? It says Peros and also Kadayain v'Shemen. Just giving you a list of examples. There's no chiddush in that. It must be coming to tell you a chiddush, even if it's muktzah. So now Yitzchak is on the defense. Now we just turned the tables against Rav Yitzchak. The fact that it says Peros, then Kadayain v'Kadashemen, it must mean a chiddush that even if it's muktzah, and you're allowed to cover up muktzah. So Yitzchak is going to answer Kadayain v'Kadashemen is tzrichulei. It's not muktzah, but there's a chiddush. The Paris, when it gets wet, it's a big hefsid, a financial loss. It's not such a big hefsid. I'm not sure what happens exactly when the kadim get wet. What happens exactly? I'm not sure what kind of hefsid it is at all. But there's some kind of small hefsid that these jugs, they get wet. So you might think that they're not there, the tircha for a small hefsid. From Ashmalan, that you even want there for a small hefsid. It talks not about muksa. We're just talking about the tircha of yantiv. So covering things up. So a chiddush is that even for hefsid more, you're allowed to do the tircha of covering it up, but only if it's not muktzah. So still, we didn't find the decision. We bring you rayas. We had 2 attacks against Dula and then a little attack against Rav Yitzchak. We didn't find any raya yet. The Gemara continues with the next part of the Mishnah. Tanan nosnin kli tachas adela for Shabbos. The Gemara understands that when something's leaking through the roof, it's disgusting water. Once it goes through the roof and everything, so it's not drinkable. So the Gemara thought that the fact that it says you could put a kli under the drip to catch it, so the drip is muktzah. So you're catching muktzah. So the Gemara considers that you're putting a kli for the purpose of muktzah. I don't understand this Gemara. If anybody could help me, because you're not doing it for the rainwater. You're doing it because of your carpet. You're doing it because of your furniture. So why is that called? You're doing it for the muktzah. You're putting a kli to catch the leak in order that the floor shouldn't get dirty. That's called you're doing it for the rain. For the rain.
Yes, but by catching it, you have a negia to it.
I'm not touching it. I'm putting it in the kli. The question is, are you allowed to move non-muktzah for the purpose of muktzah? And the Gemara looks at it that if the muktzah rainwater is coming in, I'm going to catch it. That means I'm moving my kli, my tub, my pot for muktzah. I don't see it because I'm not doing it for the muktzah. I'm doing it because my carpet is going to get
Right, but that's but you are taking the muksa item, which is the.
What's the problem? I'm not touching it.
I know, but you're catching.
So what's the problem? I'm moving a non-muktzah item in order to save my carpet. How am I going to do that? By putting it under the leak. Is that called I'm moving it for the muktzah? Okay, if it's not a kasha, it's not a kasha. I'm stuck over here. Okay, so that's the kasha on who are you attacking now? Now we're attacking Rav Yitzchak. Rav Yitzchak on the defense. The rest of the Gemara, if I remember correctly, the rest of the Gemara is going to be against Rav Yitzchak. That he holds that you're not allowed to cover muktzah. The delaf is muktzah. So and the Gemara considers it that you're moving the non-muktzah item for the muktzah drip. The Gemara answers with delaf haroy. Yeah, it's clean water. It's dripping in clean water. Rashi says at least an animal could drink it, so it's not muktzah. The rainwater is not muktzah. And Echanami point of Yitzchak, if the rainwater will be muktzah, would be dirty, then you wouldn't be allowed to move the pot to carry it. Next guy, everything's going to be attacking Rav Yitzchak. Tashma, person myself, Agabi Levain and B'Shabbos. It says in the Brisa you're allowed to cover with a mat bricks. And again, the Gemara thinks that the bricks are muktzah. So it says you're allowed to protect muktzah. You're allowed to cover take something non-muktzah to cover muktzah against Rav Yitzchak. The answer is these bricks are not muktzah. These are the case the bricks are not owned anymore for building material. They're already left over. You finish your building and you have a couple of bricks left over. You're going to use them as a chair to lean on. You're not going to use it anymore for building, so it's not muktzah. And the chanami, you can't cover. Rav Yitzchak says you can't get out. It doesn't go back down. You're not allowed to move non-muktzah for the purpose of muktzah. Next kasha, next attack. Tashma, person myself, the stones are yes muktzah. Stones, you don't lean on them. They're not like a brick, which is made some kind of a shape that you could use as a chair. But stones are muktzah. So it says here you're allowed to cover muktzah. Again, he says, no, these stones are not muktzah. What kind of stones are not muktzah? These are kind of stones that can be used for besakise. Nowadays we have toilet paper, but they used to have avonim ukazolos. And even though it's a stone, but it's a kind of a stone that is usable for cleaning oneself. So it's not muktzah. But Echanami wouldn't be allowed to cover muktzah. Tashma. Parsin machzelis is going to be less raya, but it's going to be pretty elaborate. Parsin machzelis agabi kaveres the v'lom b'Shabbos. You're allowed to cover a beehive on Shabbos. Either because the sun is damaging it or it's raining, you want to protect it from the sun or from the rain, you're allowed to cover the beehive.
Beehive is muktzah?
The beehive is muktzah.
Why? If you take honey out of it?
The Muslim will talk about it. The Muslim will talk about it. Or as long as you don't intend to trap the bees, you're going to cover the beehive. The bees are going to get trapped. There's a problem about Seder. So make sure you don't intend to trap. We'll talk about the small doesn't mean to intend to trap, but you're allowed to cover it up. And the Gemara understands that the beehive is muktzah. Bees are muktzah. So the Gemara says there's also honey. It's not muktzah because there's honey, and the honey is not muktzah. The honey is only for people, so it's not muktzah. The Yitzchak has to say there's honey. The Gemara says but only in the summer is there honey, because then that's when the bees go out and they get their pollen and they come back and they make honey. But in the winter, there's nothing to go out and it's just waiting. And the beekeeper, he took out the honey that he needs, and now they're not producing more honey. So there's no honey over there. So the Brisa says you're allowed to cover it up from the rain and from the sun. The one understands it means in the winter. In the winter, there's no honey. You must have shown that Michael there is no honey. And so you're allowed to cover it to protect the bees. Bees are muktzah. The Gemara says there is honey. And even in the winter, they have to have something. How do they live? So you do leave 2 honeycombs. That was the amount, the custom that they left. 2 honeycombs for the winter that the bees eat. The bees live off the honey. So that's not muktzah.
They live in the combs. So in the combs, they
feed off the honey.
They have to have both.
When they don't have that flowers to go to.
So they leave some honey that they store from the summer into the winter, and they eat that. So that honey is not muktzah. The Gemara says no, that honey is muktzah. That's for the bees, not for you. Also, muktzah saying you can't take that honey because they're designated for the bees. If you can take the bees, take the honey. It's not going to have any bees like next season. So how could you say that's not muktzah because there's those 2 combs? The answer is that he thought before Shabbos he's going to take those honeycombs for himself. He'll get other honey for the bees, whatever. He'll think about it after Shabbos. Right now for Shabbos he needs honey, so he thought before Shabbos I am going to use that honey, and therefore there is honey available even in the winter. That's not muktzah, and that's the case that you're allowed to cover it up. But in Echanami, you wouldn't be allowed to cover it up if it would be only muktzah, only bees. But the Gemara says, it doesn't sound like that. The Brisa should have said so. If you didn't intend to use that honey, then you're not allowed to cover it up. So I should have said so. But the Brisa shouldn't have gone to say, make sure you don't do tramping. It should have kept to the subject, make sure you don't do muksa. Because we're talking about the halacha of muksa, and before you go on to other things, say that make sure that it's only mutter because you have honey that's available to you that you thought you're going to use it. But if you didn't think that you're going to use it, then it's also because of muksa. So the Gemara says it wants to tell you this other consideration also. You're right. It could have said the consideration of the honey, make sure that it's not muksa. But besides the consideration of muksa, there's also consideration of trapping. Make sure that you don't trap. So far we got Rabbi Yitzchak saved himself. He got out of the problem. The Brisa said you're allowed to cover a beehive. The kasha was that a beehive is muksa. The Gemara says no, there's honey over there that is usable and it's not muksa, and even if it's the winter, is also available honey that he designated before Shabbos that he wants to use it. The Gemara backtracks a little bit and is surprised that the Gemara was impressed with the kasha. It means in the middle of Hoshak V'dai we said that the two combs that that's designated for the bees, so that's muksa. That's kasha is only the language of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda would consider the honey that's designated for the bees muksa for people because it's not designated for you; it's designated for the animal. But Reb Shimon doesn't know such a muksa. Reb Shimon says it's edible honey; it's muksa. It's not mutter. So the kasha that the Gemara threw out that it's muksa, that the two homes that are designated as muksa is only a Yehuda language. And the Gemara is going to say the Gemara should have answered easily. This Brisa is not Yehuda. This Brisa is Reb Shimon talking. And the Gemara is going to prove it because when it says don't intend to trap the bees when you cover it up. So the Gemara thinks that it has to do with Dav Shem Miskaven. According to Yehuda Sasa, according to Shimon, Dav Shem Miskaven is mutter. If it says here that you're allowed to trap it in the ways of Dav Shem Miskaven, so Shimon is the author of this brisa. If Shimon is the author of the brisa, so then you don't have to get what's the problem with muksa. Shimon doesn't know that honeycomb that are left for the bees is muksa. It's edible honey. It's mutter for you. And in short, I'll say it again, that the Gemara is asking, when the Gemara said a couple of lines ago, here the Gemara said, I just highlighted, the Gemara said, Osam Shtei Chalos, Muktzos, Hain, the Gemara should have answered this of Shimon talking. Because the Brisa on the end says that make sure you do a Dav Shem Miskaven when you trap. So if Reb Shimon is talking, he doesn't hold about Muktzah, so the kasha is not a kasha. That's what the Gemara is going to say now. But Mayu Kimta, where's the place over here? But Mayu Kimta. But Mayu Kimta Rabbi Yehuda. You, the whole Shaka Battalion, you seem to have explained that the Brisa is of Yehuda. This like Muktzah. That's why he had a kasha, and you had to answer that it's talking about that he thought about it before Shabbat, he's going to eat it. No, the Brisa is not Yehuda. Amos Seifel, it says that don't do it in a way that you're not mechaven to trap. That talks Dav Shimon language. That Dav Shem Miskaven is mutter. According to Yehuda, the Brisa couldn't say that because it sounds like as long as Dav Shem Miskaven, it's okay. But the Gemara rejects this whole understanding. It's not Reb Shimon. But his brother Reb Shimon, that it's no head to the trap. With Dav Shem Miskaven, if it's surely going to happen. If you're going to throw this Marcellus over the beehive and the bees are caught, even if you didn't intend to do that, you just wanted to protect it. But the Maisa you trap them. And according to Reb Shimon also should be also because it's subsecration. So anyway, it needs explanation. This whole thing of the Brisa that says at the end that don't intend to trap, what does that mean? And therefore, the Olam Kula Rabbi Yehuda, skin on this big kavi, that the Brisa doesn't mean to say that trap it without kavanah. That's not a heter. Even according to Reb Shimon, it's a subsecration. The Rabbi Yehuda, to
change the girsa?
or the understanding. It means Ella, let's get this right page over here. Lamed Vav Amud Beis. I'm sorry. Ella Ema. It doesn't mean don't have kavanah. Trap it, but don't think about it. It means do it in a way that it should not get trapped. It means don't. The Brisa is not saying something about kavanah. It means that you don't do it in a way that you're going to trap it. Make sure there's an opening left, and they should be able to leave if they want to. You want to cover it to save it from the sun and the rain, but make sure that you do it in a way that it shouldn't trap them.
Was it Koi? Yes,
It's a window.
Oh, that means they can get out.
They
Even
could-
though you're covering, they can
Right,
get
and make sure you don't cover up the windows. Make sure that's what Moshe says in Amud Beis. Don't make sure you don't do it in a way that it's trapped. So what happens? The Kash again, just to backtrack, two more lines. I'm sorry. Pshita, of course you can't trap. What's the chiddush that says the Brisa has to say don't trap? Of course you can't trap. Now the you might think that it's only us to trap something, which is usually trapped. but those kind of things that are not usually trapped, maybe is mutter. Kamash Malan, that it is also. So some Rabbanon, you're not allowed to trap things that are not usually trapped. Bees are not usually trapped because if you trap them, you're not going to get any honey. You have to leave them be able to fly out and be able to get their pollen. So bees are called not Mino Nitza. If you get a deer, that's called Mino Nitza. But if you get a bird, but you get a bee is not something that you want to keep. You want to let it go fly. So therefore, you might think that it's mutter Kamash Malan, it's a some Rabbanon. So what did we do so far? We had a kash on a bitzchak that says that he says you're not allowed to move for a muktzah item. It says you're allowed to cover a beehive. The Gemara answered that there's honey over there, so it's not muktzah. The kasha was in the winter there's no honey, so we said the two chalos that were designated for the bees, and he thought about it before Shabbos that he wants to eat it. That's why it's mutter. That's why it is not muktzah, and he's covering it to save the honey, not to save the bees. So Rabbi Yitzchak got out of it. There's one more answer for this. Does it say the Bryce is talking about the winter? It doesn't say summer and winter. It says it says you want to cover up the beehive because of the sun or because of the rain. It doesn't say the summer and winter. It says Chama and Kshamim. That means it's rainy outside, it's sunny outside. It doesn't say that it's the winter. And the case is that it's not the winter. The most Nisan, Tishrei, Chama, Gshamim, Dvash. In Nisan time or Tishrei time, there is honey still, and sometimes it rains, sometimes it's sunny. So, and the Brisa doesn't. Rabbi Yitzchak will say it doesn't say it's the winter. The winter there's no honey, and therefore it is muktzah, and you're not allowed to cover it up. The Brisa just says that when there is honey, it's mutter. When is there honey? Whatever it is honey, and it doesn't say in the winter. And the winter there is no honey.
The Brisa doesn't make enough community in summer and winter. It's about one.
It doesn't say that. It just says if there's rain. It means in the winter it would be also because there's no honey available. According to Rabbi Yitzchak, that says that it's only mutter to cover it when there's honey. So in the winter there's no honey. So it's also to cover it. Fine. The Brisa doesn't say that's mutter even in the winter. It just says mutter.
The first steer to Rabbi Yitzchak that seems to be holding.
I'm sorry?
There seems to be a steer on Rabbi Yitzchak.
No, he's coming to answer Rabbi Yitzchak. He's come to answer Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak says that you're not allowed to cover the beehive if it's muktzah. The kasha was that the Brisa says that you're allowed to cover the beehive, and the Gemara thought that it says even in the winter and there's no honey inside. It was kasha and Rabbi Yitzchak. So it says no, it doesn't say that. It says that it's rain. It doesn't say that's winter. So it happens to be either in Nisan and Tishrei when there is honey and there is rain. So you're allowed to cover it for the honey. So that's the end of the sugya, and the Gemara is not machri either way. The Gemara tried the kashas both ways, but everybody defended themselves. So the Gemara just leaves it open. This machlokes if you're allowed to move non-muktzah for the purpose of muktzah, and the Gemara doesn't have any decision. We pass that it's mutter. We pass that it's mutter. You're allowed to move non-muktzah for muktzah. No such issue. Even on Shabbos. Okay, next sugya. V'nosnin kli tachas hadelef v'Shabbos. You're allowed to put a pail under a leak in order to catch the leak. Tana, in the smalei kli, shofar fashon lebein nimna. If it got filled up, you're allowed to spill it out and bring it back again. And no problem. Don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to empty it out and bring it back again. And if it gets full again, the whole day, Rashi says you're allowed to empty it out and fill it up again. Tais says the kasha, how are you allowed to? The one before spoke about is the rainwater clean or dirty? If it's clean, so fine. If it's clean water, so then you're allowed to take it out. But if it's dirty water, and the one before did consider the possibility that it's dirty water, are you also allowed to? So Taisa says, Graf Sholberei. Taisa says that if it's disgusting, then you'd be allowed to take it out. That's the case. The case, if it's dirty water, you only would be allowed to take it out if it's disgusting. If it's not disgusting, if it's not disgusting to you in the way Graf Sholberei, so then you wouldn't be allowed to pick it up because it's muktzah water.
And we hold that. We say no. You can't take it out. Let's say it's not graf. It's dirty, but it's not graf.
So then you're not allowed to take it out. It's muktzah water. If the water is muktzah, so then you wouldn't be allowed to take it out.
What if the pail is going to start overflowing if you don't?
So maybe that's also called graf sholrei. Maybe if it's going to overflow, that's going to be the graf sholrei. That eventually the whole place is going to be disgusting. Maybe Taisvis, I'm not sure if he means that. Just show the Taisvis over here. Taisvis here, shofar fashoni. You're allowed to spill it out and bring it back again. Before the Gemara said maybe it's muktzah water. That says you're not allowed to move muktzah. So if you have muktzah inside the pail, are you allowed to move the pail? Taisa says the showing we shouldn't have a graf sholrei. That's it. Taisa says mutter graf sholrei. So is the graf sholrei because it's disgusting water, or because it's going to make the house disgusting?
What are you accomplishing if
you can't do it again?
Can't do it again.
So graf sholrei is going to be at there even if the water is muktzah water, if the water is not muktzah water, it's clean water, so fine, it's not muktzah. But even if the water is muktzah, you want to say that you're allowed to empty it out because it's going to spill over. That's going to be the grash al on the floor. Okay. We had a question a couple of times, which we didn't get an answer yet. I asked around, they didn't get an answer yet. The garbage bag
Right.
that does not smell yet, but tomorrow morning is going to smell. You have to wait to take it out once it starts smells, or you know it's going to smell tomorrow, so why do we have to wait for it? Right now it's not a grash al rei. So according to the way you're explaining, I think that you're saying that it'll be mutter, because here it's not the grash al rei. I'm taking it out in order that it shouldn't become a grash al rei, that it shouldn't overflow. Maybe you have a raya. I was looking for a raya, I didn't find one yet. So maybe this is a raya that you're allowed to take it out in order that it shouldn't become a grash al rei.
Nice. We don't even know.
Maybe
We
this
only
maybe
try
this
to
is better
understand
because
what-
maybe this is better because once it becomes a grash al rei, maybe it's not going to be able to possible to clean it up anymore. Once it goes over, once it overflows, unless I'm talking about a carpet, maybe I shouldn't think about a carpet. If you have a dirty floor, maybe you'll be able to sweep it out also afterwards.
It starts getting muddy.
If that's what maybe. So if that's true, then you're allowed to take out the pail in order to avoid the grash al rei. Maybe, oh, it's muddy. It's going to be difficult to clean up. Maybe if it's going to be impossible to avoid the situation of a grash al rei. Maybe that's the heter. But I'm not saying I had the mamish yet. I asked a couple of people, nobody told me a straight answer. If you're allowed to move out the garbage bag, which is eventually going to smell. So
Don't
Okay.
forget the woman's sensitivity, grash al rei is much more sensitive.
that's something else. But right now, everybody's
Oh, we're not
fine.
gonna talk about it.
Right now, everybody's fine. Everybody's fine. Everybody's-
not in the kitchen.
Everybody's fine. Right now, it's not, the case is, right now, it's on the ground, not a grash al rei. If it bothers somebody, then it's a grash al rei. If it doesn't bother anybody now.
If she's not in that room, she
If-
might.
if-
she
I'm
finished the
just
kitchen.
kidding.
Ah.
Right now, it's not a grash al rei. There's scenarios. We're okay with scenarios. If you want.
Oh, okay.
So right now, it's not a grash al rei. It's going to become a grash al rei. You go into details. Is
Husband
it,
wakes up in the morning.
is it a grash al rei?
And therefore, mutat. So Torah.
It's not good.
Therefore, you can.
I said I threw out the
It
question.
seems like a clue.
It seems like you're allowed to go into Moshe's Prat of the Gemara. It seems like it's mutter. I can't say for sure, but we're leading towards the heter. But I'd like to get upside. Okay. Here it says that you're allowed, if it's overflowing, you're allowed to, if it's getting full and it's going to overflow, you're allowed to spill it out and bring it back. And Tosha says the reason why you're allowed to take it out if it smokes the water is because grash al rei. A story. Be'Rechaya da Abaye Dolov. Abaye had a place where he had a rechaim, he had a mill, and it was leaking, and it was going to ruin the rechaim over there. It was going to ruin something. Asalak made the rabba. So I went to Rabbi's Rebbe. Does he have any yetzer? It's leaking into his rechaim. Amalei zil ayle lepoyach lahasam. The levi kigav shal rei v'apke. Move in your bed into that room, and then it becomes disgusting. What's disgusting? What's disgusting? Rashi says that the rechaim is disgusting. This is a big Rashi. I never thought this Rashi. I also was surprised. Here's the Rashi. A place where there's a mill. His mill room. The Bai Shelusham, the Levi Kigav shal rei yumu usim harechaim.
What's disgusting about water getting wet?
What's disgusting? It doesn't say the water. I mean, that says that's disgusting to have a mill next to your bed. I don't know what's so disgusting about it.
Or maybe you have leftover flour and things like
Shehim
that.
usim harechaim lachlias lefnei mitasefa. So he
Rather
says,
than-
create a situation where the rechaim may be disgusting to you. Right now, he has a different room. He has his bedroom, and the bedroom is fine. He's fine, but he wants to be able to move the rechaim out of the drip. So, and that you're not allowed to do. So he moved in the bed, and now to have a bed next to the rechaim, that's disgusting. So then move out the rechaim. So you're allowed to do that. That's a rabbi told me.
It's a chachma. What do you call it? It's a rama. a little bit.
Maybe I don't know. So that's what happened. Move your bed inside. Then the rechaim is going to become a grash al rei, and then take it out, and you save the rechaim. Abai was hesitating because he had a kasha. Yosef Abai v'kakasha lei v'chosem grash al rei lechatchila. You're not allowed to make a situation that a grash al rei. If the grash al rei happened, you're allowed to move it out. But here he's what's the word? He's
Coordinating.
coordinating deliberately to make a situation where he's gonna have a grash al rei. That you're not allowed to do. So he was hesitating, thinking, is that a good heter? Meanwhile, while he was thinking, it fell in. The leak happened and the whole thing fell in. And he said, I deserve it. I deserve it because I listened. The Rebbe said this, I should listen to him. I think it's based on the Gemara Nerevin that the Gemara Nerevin means he had a good kasha. He had a kasha. Why should he listen to the Rebbe if he has a kasha? So the Gemara Nerevin says by Yisud Rabbanan, if you have a kasha, first you do and then you ask. By Yisud Raisa, if you have the Rebbe said a heter and Yisud Raisa, and you think that is a kasha on it, so you're not allowed to do. You have to first ask him and then you can do. If you got a good answer. But on Isser Rabbanan, it says first you do, and then you ask. So he was allowed to be relying on Rabbi even if he had a kasha. The Maisa is that the question is why. Tess asks why is Rabbi right? Isn't Abai right that you're not allowed to make a situation of a graf shel rei? So how are you allowed to move your bed in? That's Tess kasha over here also. Why is Abai right? I forgot that Abai is right. I forgot the meaning of Perik Yom Tov. Where's that? So Rashi says that Mishum say this mutter. That's one teretz. That since it's going to be a financial loss, then they are allowed to make a graf shel rei lechatchila. In this case, if you're going to lose out on this thing, so then you could manipulate the situation in order to make a graf shel rei intentionally. So that was Rabbi said. Abai said move your bed in order to make a graf shel rei. Abai was wondering that you're not allowed to make a graf shel rei lechatchila. Only if it happened. We can't make such a situation. But the Abai said that he was wrong. He should have listened to Rabbah. And Rabbah Taisus explained what was Rabbah's svara because of Seder for Hefsid. In the room of in the Makom Hefsid, you're allowed to do this. Yes.
Rabbi was Rabbi.
New Gemara. Mar.
Mar is Rabbi?
Whenever Abai says Mar, it's Rabbah.
Is it Rabbi Reish Beis Aleph or Reish Beis Aleph?
It says Rabbah. Asala Kamedi Rabbah. Does say. I said here it says Rabbah. You see it on the screen? Asala Kamedi Rabbah. Next Gemara. Amar Shmuel. Graf shel rei v'av shel merek line mutar l'tzion la'ashpa. You're allowed to take out. This is a chamber pot. A chamber pot is a graf shel rei, and the other shel merek line is for urine, something for urine. Maybe there's a word for that also. I'm not sure what it is. Anyway, you're allowed to take it out. Means even though it's muksa, the thing is muksa, but since it's disgusting, you're allowed to take it out. You want to get out the excrement. You want to get out the urine, so you're allowed to take it out. Then you also bring it back. You bring it back into the house. You take it out because it's disgusting, but you want to bring it back to use it again. So you put it in water and bring it back. It seems that you have to have the water also. It seems I'm not sure. Rashi says this I didn't get clear. It says that you have to put water in. I thought maybe the pshat is that you clean it out. You clean it out in order to get out all of the disgust, and now it's not muksa. Now you're allowed to bring it back. But Rashi seems to say that something about you moving the kli ag of the water. So I didn't get full clarity on this yet.
Clarity on another point. The part of the water became dirty now.
No, so I would think that I would have thought that it just means without Rashi. I would have thought that it means clean it out and bring it back. Clean it out.
With
Switch.
Rashi.
With Rashi. That the water is dirty now. The water is not usable. Okay, I don't know. Rashi seems to say that put in water and then bring it back with the water. The thing itself you can't bring back. I would have thought that it means clean it out and bring it back. I didn't have a chance. You have a graf shel rei, a chamber pot that was full of tzoa, you're allowed to take it out because it's disgusting. Can you bring it back in again? So it says, after you emptied it out outside into the outhouse, and now you want to bring it back into the house. So it says that you're not allowed to, but fill it up with water, then you could bring it in. Rashi says, out of the water, you're allowed to carry it back also. To bring it back in is not have to have a graf shel rei. Graf shel rei is
clean it out completely and then bring it in.
I think so. That's what I was saying. That's what I
Out
thought.
of respect for the people who live there.
What is that?
It says out of respect for the people who live there, to clean it out outside and then bring it back in.
So he says clean it out. That's not how he explains. Clean it out. It doesn't seem like Rashi. I thought that's the.
Allowing it to be removed from the house out of respect for the people who live there. However, it may not be moved to a drink house unless water is in it.
So now so water is in it. That's like Rashi. That's the. So why can you bring it with water in it? Because the water's in it. That's the reason they have to bring it back. That's what Rashi says. Rashi says ilav agav maya lo matzil tefillin. That it seems that the kli itself is mopsa, and without if it doesn't have water, then you wouldn't be allowed to move it. So fill it up with water and bring it back. So Moshe is asking that it's still disgusting. Ram's asking that it's still disgusting. Even if the water is disgusting water now also. So I would have wanted to say without Rashi.
The water is diluting all the. It's a very small minute.
What are you going to do?
I wouldn't drink it, but I would have it in my house because he threw out the.
What are you going to do with this water?
I don't know.
No
No
idea.
idea.
So that's the question. That's what he's asking.
The footnote here, the water is suitable for use by animals and therefore not.
So the Oswald is suggesting that it's still royal behemoth, that animals could be.
Behemoth,
Okay, but I'm surprised. Okay, I would have thought I'd like to look at it still, but maybe it's mutter. It means to clean it out and then bring it back. That's what I would have thought. But Rashi doesn't seem to say that, so I'm saying what Rashi. The Gemara finishes off.
We're generational listeners. That's
Okay,
fine.
fine.
Because in those days they did things much more.
Okay, but they don't say they drink water like that. Okay, so
Right, they don't
okay,
do things.
Savamina.
They use-
Now this had to have graf shel rei. Savamina graf shel rei agavana in b'fnei asmalo. The Gemara thought that graf shel rei is only mutter agavana, means excrement itself. It would be mutter theoretically to pick up the excrement itself, only in the kli. So the Gemara first thought that Grashal is only because there's a Kli and the excrement is inside or the urine is inside, that you wouldn't be allowed to move the disgusting thing itself, only in a Kli. Tashma, no, it's mutter to move the disgusting thing itself. Tahu achparta, ishtakach be'as parmaki de Ravashi, amalu Ravashi, nakte betzusitza avavkua. There was a dead mouse that was found in the besamim of Ravashi, and Ravashi said, take it by its tail and take it out. I mean, dead mouse is disgusting, and you don't have to put it into a kli. You can take it out by its tail, pick up the disgusting thing, and take it out also. So Rav shall raise mutter even to move it directly. That's halacha. That's halacha. Okay, next Mishnah.
What about the garbage? What about the diapers? I've been told you're not allowed to take the diapers of the babies out unless they're in a package. Dirty diapers, really soiled diapers. No?
That'll take it out. The Rav shall raise. That'll take it out.
There's no chumrah to put in a bag or something?
Not that I know. Not that I
No,
know.
you're talking about maybe if you want to make a bracha or something.
Nothing about bracha, just getting it out.
Muktzah.
Muktzah, yeah.
So Rav shall raise. Let her move it itself. You don't have to do something else.
Not even if it's
Maybe find out what you heard from who you found it out. Maybe.
I think my daughter, when they come with the babies,
Probably they want. Okay, maybe they want to put it in a bag. Different reasons. Not because
Just
of.
for, it's nothing to do with
Not the muktzah. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I'm happy to
But ask them what they mean. Kol shecha, the next mission. We finished this sugyos. Now we're going to very general sugya about Hilchos Yantif and also Hilchos Shabbos. This is going to be Hilchos Shabbos also, very relative and famous halachas. Kol shechayavon alav mishum shvus mishum mitzvah b'Shabbos chayavon alav b'Yantif. The Gemara is going to say now. The Mishnah is going to say certainly everything is Rabbanan, and it's going to say three categories. One is called shvus, one is called mishus, one is called mitzvah. As the Gemara is going to explain, everything is asam b'Rabbanan. The word shvus means asam b'Rabbanan of Melacha and Yantiv and Shabbos. That's what shvus means. And when it says mishus and mitzvah, it means that even though it's a little bit of a mitzvah, that's called a mishus, and even though it's a big mitzvah, that they made isurim on three levels. They're all the same isurim that you're not allowed to do asam b'Rabbanan, but it's just going to divide it. It's not. It's interesting that Mishnah went to trouble to divide it so much, but it means that some things it's not involving any mitzvah. It means it's not sacrificing any mitzvah issue. So they made Isser Rabbanan on certain things, which we'll see right away. And some things, even though there's a little bit mitzvah, they still made Isser on it. And some things, even though there's a big mitzvah, they still made Isser Rabbanan on it. So everything is going to be a shvus. Everything's going to be Isser Rabbanan. Some are going to be no mitzvah involved. Some are going to be a small mitzvah involved. Some will be a big mitzvah involved. And still they answered all of them. So we'll see the explanation right away in the Mishnah. Then it'll make more sense. So far it says that it's Asr on Shabbos and it's also Asr on Yantiv. The first category. You're not allowed to climb a tree. You're not allowed to ride an animal. You're not allowed to swim on the water. You're not allowed to clap. You're not allowed to call it bang, Musapkin, and you're not allowed to dance. It doesn't say why. This is the famous mission that you're not allowed to clap. Musapkin, Rashi says, when you bang on your thigh. That's Rashi's strat. Others say different. Others say that it means also to clap, but it means clapping out of grief. Also, when a person has sorrow or is anger. So Rashi says to bang on the thigh. Maybe that's also include bang on the table also. But this is the halacha about clapping, banging, dancing. So what are the halachas here? 6 halachas. You're not allowed to climb a tree. You're not allowed to ride an animal. You're not allowed to swim. And the Gemara is going to discuss all. Yeah, they're all shvuts, right? But yeah, these are shvuts. These are Isur Rabbanan. Rabbanan made an Isur Rabbanan on these things, not to climb a tree. It's only also Rabbanan, but the Rashi allowed to climb a tree. You're not allowed to ride an animal. You're not allowed to swim. You're not allowed to clap and bang and dance. Doesn't say why. We'll see the Gemara. Well, eventually we'll see the Gemara. Mishum Rishus. The following is Rishus, which Rashi explains means that it's a little bit of a mitzvah. It's sacrificing a little bit of a mitzvah, but it's still going to be awesome with Rabbanan. And what are they? 1 second, please. And what are they? That's all right. That's all right. Okay.
All right, I think
That's good. That's good for everything. Okay. Veiluhei mishum rishus lo danim v'lo mekachin v'lo chotim v'lo miyabin. You can't make it in Torah. Rabbanim, Dayanim, they can't make it in Torah on Shabbos and Yantiv. And you can't do Kedushin. You can't marry. You can't marry on Yantiv and Shabbos. V'lo chosim v'lo miyabin. There's no chalitza on Yibam. Yibam, of course, means if somebody dies without is married and he dies without children, so the brother is supposed to be miyabim the widow. And if they don't want, so then there's chalitza. It's a kind of a divorce from the brother-in-law. So these things are not allowed to be done on Yantiv and Shabbos. No marriage, no chalitza, no yibum. Okay, that's the list of things that are a little bit of a mitzvah to make it in Torah, to marry, to do chalitza and yibum, and still they made Isser Rabbanan on it. The third category, These are big mitzvahs, and still they asked it because of a shvus. Lo magdishim, lo marichin, lo machrimin. Lo magbi and tumo ma'aser. You're not allowed to consecrate things. Marichin is also a kind of consecration that you say there's a erkel at the end of Parshas, where is it? Bahar? I think, Bahar B'chokosai, that someone says, Erech Ploni Alai, Erki Alai, that he donates to Hektish his value, or somebody's value.
Mitzvah means the Raisa?
No, these are no. Everything is a shvus. Everything is Isser Rabbanans over here. There are some things that don't involve any mitzvah. Some things involve small mitzvahs. Some things involves big mitzvahs, and still actual mitzvahs. And still they said it's Isser Rabbanan. So you're not allowed to consecrate things. You can't say I raise a hektish. You can't say Erech Ploni Alai, that I'm obligating myself to give a certain value of somebody or me or somebody. And Lo Machrimin, that also kind of hektish is hektish to Berek Abayis. You can't consecrate things to hektish. But Lo Magbi and Truma and Meiser, you can't. This we had many times already in the Masechta that you're not allowed to separate Truma and Meiser, and we'll see the reason that it's considered tikkun. It's considered that you're mitakin mana. I don't know if we'll see everything today, but as far as we go, so these are the third category of things that are mitzvahs, and still you're not allowed to do it. And the Mishnah ends off. This halacha was in a yantif, and kol v'chomer Shabbos you're not allowed to do all these things. And the Mishnah ends off. Ein ben yantif l'Shabbos el lo nefesh b'vad. The only difference between yantif and Shabbos is only things that have to do with food. That on yantif you're allowed to do things for food, and on Shabbos you're not allowed to. You did have the sugi already that said that according to Basil, you say mitoch shutu l'sorot l'nam shalom l'sorot, that any malacha which is mutter to do for ochel nefesh, and you're allowed to do it also not for ochel nefesh, as long as it's a tzarich yantif and it's shavel l'chol nefesh. But this the yesod is that the of the Torah says by ochel nefesh. Otherwise, these things that are asa, they're asa even on Shabbos and there's no difference. So we had all these halachas. And now we go back to the beginning. This is called the shvus. Things that are Rabbanan and no mitzvah involved, and they answered it. And you can't climb a tree. Why not? Because you might tear something off. Either I don't think it means as you're climbing, that's the Hashem Miskaven, but you might, if you're up there, what do you do? What do you do when you're in a tree? You take an apple, whatever. You might take something to eat. So maybe other reasons why you might tear off a branch. So. But then you're not doing Dav Shem B'Skaven, and you don't want it to break. If it breaks, you're going to fall. So that'll be Dav Shem B'Skaven, not Absigration. It should be mutter. They should make it Xer because of that. So L'char means he's going to do it intentionally. Shem Yitosh intentionally, you might tear something off. Imagine that, something to eat or something like that. The next category, the Mishnah says you can't ride an animal. Why not? The rice you could ride an animal. Why do they say don't ride an animal? Why? Because since it's easier to ride, when you're walking, so then 2,000 ams is already a lot. But if you're going to be riding an animal, so you go far, and maybe you'll go out of the tchum. But the Gemara says that Gemara doesn't like that. So that'd only be good if tchum would be their rice. They make xera for their rice. But here, if tchum is rabbanan to make xera, you might go out of the tchum. That sounds like too much. So the Gemara says lubshat you might cut a vine. So Rashi says you want to use it for a whip. When you're hunting an animal, you need something to prod on the animal. So that's what you'll be pissing by a tree. You'll cut off something. So therefore. Similar to the first halacha. So you can't go climb a tree, you can't ride an animal on Shabbos and Yantif. The third thing is, which one? That's right, that's up to. Well, there's not how to swim on the water. Why can't you swim? You might make some kind of a float.
Is that
A raft or something that'll help you to swim. Rashi, a tube of some sort. Yeah, it helps you to swim. So Rashi says it's in order to learn how to swim, and maybe the pshat will be even not learn when you're swimming a long time. So it's easier for you to be afloat. So it's easier to have something to hold you. It means, of course, if you know how to swim, but if you're swimming a long distance, so you might want to have something to be able to help you, and that's you're making a kli, making some kind of a kli. That's why it's also to swim.
Is that pashut that shata means to swim? Maybe shata means to float.
What's the difference, swimming and float? It's true,
floating is when not going.
And going is going to be also us. There's no difference floating and rowing.
Because chavish of shiyata means to float.
Yeah, when you're swimming and floating. When you're swimming,
swimming, you're doing something active. Floating, you're staying in one place. And
if
generally using the tube.
Yeah, how long does he want to stay there? What's he going to do this floating for?
Some people chill out floating.
You gotta move so you don't sink.
Wait, if you float, you could send a float for an hour.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that okay, the halacha show you that you're not allowed to,
It's to do with swimming.
Shut up, man.
Same
Okay,
not drowning, it's
Sure.
a kind of swimming.
sure.
But here they're saying,
Okay.
so you don't be, you're not,
It's to swim with the
you're not
float.
gonna make a utensil made out of a woven reed shaped like a.
Right.
wheelbarrow,
Before you
which
should make
is
it
used
clean.
to aid and learn in the swimming.
Eat a swimmer, yeah.
So it's not about swimming. it's about-
Okay. So then, according to Mishabur, they're saying he's learning how to swim. So then learning how to float.
Okay,
Okay,
no,
That's
yes,
why
the
it's
article says, like you said, I
the
didn't,
word shove means to float. you're
that's
saying.
what I thought.
But I think even if that's translation, I don't think it's going to change the halacha. That the floating includes swimming. You have to find out a place where it uses the word shayatin, if it's only used for floating, also for swimming. It could be literally the word means to float, but I think in our context it also includes swimming. Okay, so that's the first three halachas. You're not allowed to climb a tree, you can't ride an animal, and you can't swim. The next Mish said about clapping, which Rashi explained means clapping and banging on the thigh and dancing. Gezerah Shem attacking cliche. Why not? This is the famous Gemara many times. Why can't you clap? Because you might fix some instrument.
This is a big question. We did spend a lot of time on this.
So we had a Gemara before the Flamet, I think, that it said that people do it and we don't protest. Why don't we protest? So the Gemara said because they're not going to listen. That's called Mutiv Shishogim Al Mazidim. We know for sure they're not going to listen and say better they should be shoging, not amazing. But really it's usher. And Tyson says a heter that if you don't know how to fix instruments, so then it's a heter. Tyson says he doesn't hold that as a loy plug, it's mutter. But I just pointed out that nowadays we're back to the old times again because we do know how to fix instruments. So if it's awesome. And the reason why I don't tell people is because they're not going to listen. Maybe they will listen, maybe they won't listen. They'll say it's fresh at Tosfos. So they're not going to listen nowadays because of a firm reason. But I think that Tosfos doesn't apply nowadays.
Quite a couple of Am Yisrael that they keep working on their instruments. It's pretty tough.
Okay. For those people who know
Not
the
necessarily
instruments, yeah,
Tahara,
okay.
because a lot of
Okay.
people
Would have instruments. And also
As a
and clapping.
Testament,
Okay, go ahead.
an old man, the sweetest of sweetest, we did an say that after the hospice, he took out a harmonica, a Jewish man. He
Hmm.
started playing. I couldn't say put it away. This is a very Christian place, and he was very happy playing his instrument, and I didn't.
My question is, if you're allowed to sing when people are clapping, is that a problem? I'm causing them to clap.
They're singing also. They're not going to clap because of your singing. Probably they're clapping
Let's say
anyway.
I'm running the show, but whatever.
They have a heter. They think they have a heter. I don't know. I'm not going to say so much. I think that heter doesn't apply, but they think that it's mutter. So you're causing them to do it. I don't know. Okay. Just to point out, Ibn Hananel over here, this is the famous thing about doing with a shinoi. Are you allowed to clap with a shinoi? Which many people do. See what it says. There's a Ibn Hananel who's done in Yerushalmi that it says machlokes if you're allowed to do it with a shinoi. That some say that it's us even with a shinoi. And everyone says you can do a backhand. You can do a backhanded clap. And there's a story over here, very famous story, that there was the Lulin Reb Shimon by Rebbe, I guess there was they were clapping by the Suda with backhanded, and Reb Meir passed by and he heard them and he said, Reb Hussein, Hutra Shabbos, that Machal Shabbos. That Reb Meir passed by and he said that the rabbi is Machal Shabbos. So Rebbe heard and he said, who's the one who's coming to disturb our Simcha? And Reb Meir heard, then he started running away, and some people started running after him, and then his scarf uncovered his neck, and Reb Meir looked out the window when he saw Reb Meir's neck, and he said, all the Torah that I got is because I saw Reb Meir's neck.
All right.
This is the famous.
What does that mean? That
Yeah.
you see someone's neck?
Okay, so a holy person, but usually the Gemara talk about they think he saw his back because he was in the chair in the back row. You know, this is the case where he saw Reb Meir's neck when the Meir was running away because they were running after him because he protested that they were clapping. But this is the story. This is Allah
We
says
should be able to use it as a header for our.
To do what?
us in Shai,
to do what? Kalachayad. Many people do.
Go ahead.
You see many people do that.
Our clapping.
Reb Meir held that it's usher. Others held that it's usher. Reb Yonah says that it's mutter.
Was he older than Rebbe?
I don't know. I don't know. He was considered. I think
Must
so.
have been, otherwise he would have known him through his life. Why would he not? sing
I don't know.
this?
I don't know. The Gemara continues. Ve'elu hein mishum rishus.
What is it going to say on the last place? It's from Rav, you could make a rock.
He says Rikut means when you one foot is off the floor and one is on, and jumping is when both feet are off the floor. Rikud or raglachas miyachas. Kipputz beis raglachas. When it says the word kopetz, it means both feet are jumping off, and when he only has 1 foot off the floor, which is regular dancing, I guess. So then that's considered rokade.
So where do you see the heter that he could, if he clap, you know?
Beforehand, before that, that's the whole Berachanal before that. Brings Yerushalmi. If it's okay with everybody, we would continue more time. Let me see. That's how much more I prepared. If I could continue, 1 second, please.
Whoever you prepared.
Yeah, I just want to see if we should take a break for some minutes and. Yeah, we could do another Amud. Maybe we'll make a 5-minute hafsaka and we'll come back again.
Today is 37, I think.
We're one more.
37.
No,
Okay,
we
we-
did-
we-
But today's stuff is 37.
I think
Yeah,
so.
we should learn 37 to be exact.
If you learn 27,
Yeah.
you learn,
So we'll be back in about 5 minutes.